So this story begins in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, more than a decade ago when I was the ripe old age of 15.
Nice.
And the reason why I'm telling this story is because I think that 15-year-olds are still doing the exact same things that I did way back then when I was 15. Like, things have not really changed all that much, which is really concerning because what I did was very stupid. It was one of the dumbest things I've ever done. Let me set the stage a little bit for you. I used to go to a very small high school. To give you an idea, my graduating class was about 40 people. You know, it's the kind of school where you knew everyone, sort of. And I was the only gay kid in my school. Well, at least that's what it felt like at the time. It felt like I was the only one who was diagnosed with the big gay, the big rainbow. And it was kind of difficult. You see, when you're a teenager in that space, in that small school setting, you're like watching all your friends get the boyfriends and the girlfriends. They're getting their first kissies and, you know, they're having their first dating experiences and, you know, they're having sex. And it's really disheartening when you're like the only person who can't have that experience and you just like kind of wonder, when is it gonna be my turn? When am I going to meet someone like me? Am I going to meet someone like me? What if I never meet someone like me? And you know, when you're in high school, like you literally think that your whole world is high school. Like you don't have any depth perception of history. Like you can't foresee a future where things could happen to you. Like your whole world is just high school. And that's basically what I thought. I thought like if I didn't get this experience now, you know, I would never get the experience. I'm just basically a loser because everyone else was getting their experiences, right? Everyone else was going out and having their dates and doing physical things. And there I was, the little loser Brian. The little nerd who, you know, can't get anyone. And I thought if I didn't do anything now, I would grow up to be like a 40-year-old version, like that Adam Sandler movie or like whatever. Anyways, yeah, I was desperate for something. I wasn't even sure what it was. So I did what every gay kid probably did back then and probably still continues to do now. I went online. I downloaded all the apps, the Grinders, the Hornets, the Guy Spies, the Jacked, the everything. Yeah, I was like on every single gay app that no child should be on. But like, you know, what other option did I have? So yeah, I was on those gay apps. And then something magical happened. I met another gay guy and his name was, let's call him Rocky. So Rocky was someone that I met on Hornet, and I think he was like 30 or something if I remember correctly. Totally normal, 30-year-old talking to a 15-year-old. Obviously, as an adult now, I can totally see how very alarming that was, but you know, I was a 15-year-old kid and I just wanted someone to talk to me and I didn't have anyone. And there he was. Girl, I was not someone who got attention in high school. Like, you know how other people, like, you know, during Valentine's Day, there's those, you know, fundraiser events where people like, you know, buy flowers and they gift it to other people. I am not one of those people who got one, you know? So having this attention was very cool. So naturally, when he asked me to visit him, I said yes. And so the plan was I would go to his hometown, which was like 50 kilometers away, which isn't that much in miles, I don't know. And I would stay over for the weekend. And you know, I made the preparations. I told my family, told my parents that I was gonna go stay over at a friend's house. You know, they didn't have to worry, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, then he picked me up and then he drove me on his motorbike 50 kilometers away to visit his hometown. And obviously that is so dumb because this guy is a total stranger. He's a 30-year-old man picking up a 15-year-old kid, driving him all the way back to his hometown, obviously for not so innocent reasons, and I allowed it to happen. Because like at the time, as a 15-year-old kid, it didn't register to me how weird it was. I just thought, you know, we were two very mature adults. I thought we were two very mature adults just, you know, going out and having a good time, right? So yeah. He drove me over to his house. His house, there's like basically nothing around it. It was like quite barren. And we went inside his house and he cooked me instant noodles. I'm not really sure what we talked about, but... And then he took me into his bedroom and and I remember being very nervous. And the only frame of reference I had was, you know, porn videos, because that's all that existed in gay media. That was the only sort of gay media I had at the time. So I was thinking things are looking like they're gonna happen. So, you know, I sat on his bed and just, you know, waited for things to happen. He didn't make a move. Actually, it was actually me who made the move. And yep, then stuff happened, and that was my first experience. So how did it go? Obviously, I was totally inexperienced, and I felt like I crossed the boundary to adulthood. And obviously, I was super lucky that this guy, the only thing he wanted was, you know, sex. And obviously, if I was with someone who had more nefarious intentions, then I probably would not be here today talking to y'all, because it was such a stupid thing to do. I was 15, I didn't even tell my parents where I was going. And the guy drove me 50 kilometers away, so even if I did tell them where I was going, there would be no way for them to reach me in time if anything happened, right? And yeah, it was just such a stupid thing, and I just wanted to say that because it really highlights what is wrong with the current gay community right now. Because even now, even today, what do gay kids use in order to find other gay kids? Is it still Grindr? I think it's still Grindr, right? It's still all those gay social apps, those not even social apps, they're hookup apps. It's all the same. Nothing has changed, which is super dangerous because that is exactly how I got my first gay experience at like 15. And it's just not safe. Children should not be on these platforms. And there's just gotta be a way for new young gays to meet other people who are gay, right? Which is why, until that happens, I want to tell the story, right? Because if there's just one gay 15-year-old kid who watches this and sees this and then thinks, huh, yeah, maybe I shouldn't go meet that 30-year-old guy who lives like 500 hours away from me just to get my first gay experience, then, you know, I would be satisfied, because that's what I did. And I'm very lucky that the guy that I did meet was just a groomer, I guess, and not like a serial psychopath. So yeah, anyways, after that happened, he ended up taking me to his friend's house where we would be spending the night. So in Vietnamese culture, there's a huge drinking culture, right? So we went to his friend's house. There was a group of like 3 other guys and a girl, and like they were giving me drinks, they were talking to me. No one thought it was weird, which now as an adult, I think is kind of weird, because, you know, I think I was pretty honest, if I remember correctly. I told them, hell yeah, I'm in high school, this is what I'm doing. I was just a really honest, young, good boy, you know, just telling them all the details about my life. Yeah, and the friends were just like, oh yeah, okay, cool, here, have a beer. And I know that might sound really weird, especially in a Western country where the drinking age is like 21. Like, why are you giving this 15-year-old kid beer? But it's very normal here. Like in Vietnam, like people don't give a fuck. I'm pretty sure they start giving beer to like 13-year-old kids here. It's just, you know, just one of those things. But anyways, yeah, I didn't get drunk, but I drank a little bit, and then they wanted to do more karaoke stuff. So Vietnamese. They wanted to do more stuff. And I was like, no, I'm gonna go upstairs and do my homework, because I was still a high school student. I still had homework to finish. So I went upstairs to one of the bedrooms and I started, you know, put out my laptop and just started writing away. I had an essay due. It was a geography essay. So I was writing that geography essay. And then later on into the night, I hear this huge commotion, and then Rocky came upstairs with the bruise on his face. And apparently he got into an altercation with one of his friends. And then I was like, oh no. I don't remember what I said, but I was like, oh no. That's so bad. Yeah, and then this time he was a bit more forceful, and he, you know, took me onto the bed, and then we did stuff again the second time. And this time I remember the details quite well, because this time it actually was very painful. I remember it hurting a lot. We never did anything with like lube or gel or anything like that. It was just always dry and raw the entire time through, right? Both times. I don't know why it didn't hurt the first time, but this time it really did hurt. And I was actually bleeding. And not only that, but as a young gay, and this is my first experience, I didn't know anything about douching. So you can imagine the mess that was made. And I remember being so embarrassed, and, you know, Rocky, she tried to be nice about it, but I can tell, you know, I can tell from the tension, there was a lot of tension, that he did not like what happened. But, you know, looking back, it's just such a douchey thing to do. I mean, come on, you know, I'm a 15-year-old kid, I don't know what I'm doing, and for you to have this expectation, and then also you were the one who was super forceful on me, not very cool. But anyways, that experience was just super uncomfortable, and we didn't really talk that much afterwards, you know, good riddance. But at the time, it devastated me. And then, yeah, spent the night there, cleaned ourselves up, spent the night. And then the next morning, he drove me all the way back to my city and then, you know, said goodbye. And then he did try to message me a few times after that, but I remember, you know, just ignoring it. Not because I didn't like him, but because I was just so embarrassed of what happened that I just decided not to message him again. But you know what? Good riddance. I should not have continued communications with him. But what happened afterwards was, admittedly, this is gonna sound super vain, but I went back into school thinking like I was the coolest shit around. Why? Because I finally did it. I got the meat buns. I managed to have sex. And I thought that gave me street cred. I thought that made me really cool and an adult. And yeah, it felt nice to have like this self-perceived street cred at the time of, you know, being cool just because I had some physical intimacy. But little did I know, this was the moment that basically developed my biggest insecurity that would haunt me for pretty much the entirety of my adulthood, which was this constant need for male validation. Because I thought having physical intimacy was so important in being perceived as being cool, that thought process that I developed in high school continued and transformed and got even worse as I continued on into adulthood. And I talk about it a lot in this other video here about my struggles with dealing with this, but the TLDR is I grew up thinking that gay people would rate me or perceive me as being hot or attractive or worthy if they knew that I got some. And not only got some, but got some from the hot people. So because of that twisted way of thinking, I would always continuously chase after people who I thought were hot and would want to basically sleep with them. I want to have physical intimacy with them. Because I thought if I managed to do that, that would automatically put me on their level, you know, their level of attractiveness. So I would be hot by association and I would be as good as them by association, right? And that's what I thought. That is how I built my self-esteem, and that is how, for many, many years, this is how I felt good about myself. And ooh, it is not good. Obviously it's not good, and I can pinpoint this moment in my childhood as being the start of it all. I'm pretty sure this is where it all began, because at the time, after it happened, despite the literally shitty experience that I had, I thought I was so cool. I was over the moon about it. I couldn't stop talking about it. I couldn't stop bragging about it. Ooh, and it's really cringy just thinking about it, but that's the truth. And the fact that it didn't occur to me how dangerous the entire situation was and how lucky I was to have not gotten into more trouble than I probably should have, it just says a lot. It says a lot about the gay culture climate at the time when I was 15, right? Just sex and being perceived as attractive was just so important to me back then. And it continued to be important to me way into my 20s. And it persisted and developed and it crippled my self-esteem until like now. I'm pretty sure that I'm way past the phase of, you know, wanting to look attractive and wanting to feel attractive, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Like I'm way over it. But it's taken me a long time to feel fine with myself, you know? It's taken me such a long time, and I wish there was just another way for me to learn this lesson without having to go through that. Especially since learning that lesson meant me initially having to go meet a 30-year-old man at the age of 15 because there were no other gay avenues of me meeting people. I had to use those gay apps. There's no other way, and that is dangerous. And that should not be the case. So until then, until there is some sort of, you know, gay social app that is super widely popular and super accepted, like on the same level of Instagram, that isn't super sexual, or, you know, that isn't super, you know, all about sex and hooking up and that kind of stuff. Until then, until gays have that, I'm going to tell this story. I hope that it helps like one young fledgling 15-year-old gay who is stuck in the middle of nowhere and thinks that that one 30-year-old man from across the country is gonna be the one and only person who's gonna think that you're attractive. Like, time is on your side. If you learn anything from this, I really hope that you learn that time is on your side. Time will pass, which means you will get what you're looking for eventually. It's just literally a matter of time. You will find someone who likes you. It's like statistically impossible for you to not find someone who likes you, okay? There's just so many people in this world, and I know things look really small when you're in high school and like high school is your whole world, blah blah, back then, but like seriously, just wait it out. Time will pass regardless, so it will happen for you, okay? You don't have to settle. You don't have to settle for that 30-year-old man. You don't. So anyways, that is how my first gay experience went, and it really goes to show what it's like to meet gay people as a kid back then. And that needs to change. I really hope something is changing. I don't know what it's like to meet other gay people now as a kid in 2023, but I really hope something is changing. I really hope something is developing, because we need a way for kids to meet other gay kids safely. So yeah, that's all I had to say. Bye.